Okay. Today we're going to finally talk about the actual topic of Bitcoin. I've alluded to it a couple times earlier in my video, but let's talk about what it is. Especially there's so much like fuzz going on. I want to be a rational voice. Hopefully by the end of this video, if you don't know what Bitcoin is, hopefully I can have a brief understanding. I can have a brief explanation of what it is. So I'll use comparison so you can understand better. Um, Bitcoin is just a public ledger. So public meaning anybody can see it. Ledger means it's like just some entry, right? Somebody has a certain amount of Bitcoin, whatever. But why is that valuable? I think the most important thing is you do not have to trust someone. Like US dollar is very strong. It's backed by a lot of things. But you still have to trust the full faith of the U.S. government. And there's net deficit every year, right? I think national debt is going to be a huge issue because if you drop the interest rate, people are going to borrow more and the debt explodes. But if you increase the interest rate, it's much more expensive for the government to borrow, and the debt actually goes up too. Can you imagine if interest rates like 10%, how the national debt is going to climb? Because when you borrow money, it turns out it's actually more expensive. And when you're borrowing money for even the interest payment or deficit, you're borrowing at a much higher cost. So what is Bitcoin? It is public ledger, no more, but no less. Just the incorruptible public ledger is valuable enough. Like people like Peter Schiff. I actually love Peter Schiff. I watch Peter Schiff all the time. He's like a gold bug. He doesn't get Bitcoin because he thinks it doesn't have intrinsic value. But here's the thing. Value is whatever means to an end. I can lie to you, and if you believe my lie, like you do something for me, that lie is valuable. Like because I achieve what I want with that. Like Bitcoin's a utility because it's a technology, right? So I saw a video, like somebody else said this. I never thought about it that way, and I just got enlightened just by that perspective. The Bitcoin is like a high volatility technology company. It's actually true. Yeah. You know, the problem we're trying to solve is that people's purchasing power is getting diluted by the government, and the product just comes to the Bitcoin network. And why does it work? If it's like is so first of all, it's not virtual. I mean, it's like you cannot touch it, it's not physical. But the infrastructure, the internet, the ASIC machines, the miners, all of these data centers, these are as real as rocks. These are like silicon rocks. So just calling Bitcoin is not real is like it doesn't work. But um why are these tokens valuable? Because they cannot be controlled. That's the thing. It is the biggest network, right? Um, Obviously, because people always try to come up with a better version of it, but that's not going to work. I'll explain more later because this is not a full crypto channel, right? Like I'm fully involved in it, but I also invested a lot of other things, so this is not going to turn fully into a crypto channel. But Bitcoin, it is the biggest crypto network, and the tokens are valuable just because it is a public. Sooner or later, people are going to realize it is better to trust no one with your money than trusting someone. Why would you risk trusting someone with their money? It's like if you can trust no one, that's better. Like it's not about I don't trust people like I'm paranoid, but just principle. Like think about it, just like from engineering perspective. If you have a counterparty, no matter how much you trust the counterparty, it can be your mom. There's always a risk. Like what you can trust, you can take that risk out of the equation. Um, so obviously, again, as I said, this is not a get rich quick channel. I have a very long-term perspective on Bitcoin. Although it's reached all-time high, I've not sold any. Like hopefully I'm a hodler. I'm a diamond hand on this. Much of my other investments too. Like I don't sell my stocks. I have a trading account. So here's the thing. I have a trading account that I actually play with, and I have my main portfolio, which I don't even look at. I don't even look. Um, kind of trading games a little bit of fun. Actually, I've do well pretty well this year. Just a swing trade, kind of buy the dip. But I still think buy and hold is in the long term that's the best strategy. But I have a different portfolio. Just have something for me to have some fun with. So what is Bitcoin? It is a public ledger, and I want to explain why it's valuable. It is the only global network, across border, right? that's protected by the interest of people all over the world. Um, and the argument there's no utility, it just silly. So if you're in a village, actually some village like where I grew up, you have a leader in the village, and for villages who are not super wealthy with different currencies, they have a trading system with their services, right? Hey, imagine if you go somewhere, they actually don't, none of them have money, but somebody can actually provide useful services. They actually have a ledger. They can say, okay, person A is going to cook person B a meal. That can be, that's a ledger. And, people have consensus on that. So economy is consensus building exercise. That's why actually Bitcoin cannot just go to like a trillion overnight. Because, you know, it's a battery. For example, if there's a cryptocurrency has a market cap of $1 million, would you risk putting 1 million in? Of course not, right? Because the money you're putting in is literally like um the same as the market cap. The same thing. Like right now, there are billionaires or trillionaires looking at this Bitcoin thing. It's like, okay, it's $1 trillion or a little over $1 trillion. If I want to buy $500 billion of Bitcoin, that's going to affect the market a lot. But I don't want to be the sucker. So they're limited by, so maybe they can put in like 10 million. Uh, but that's the thing, that as the network grows more and more, people are going to feel much more comfortable to putting larger amounts of money. Like if the Bitcoin protocol is like right now over $1 trillion, people feel very comfortable putting in $3,000 because people think that that's not going to fluctuate things too much. Well, those $3,000 add up, right? The $3,000 become 30,000, become 300,000, etc. So that's why it's a keep self-growing protocol. I love Peter Schiff. I think I've learned a lot from him. I think a lot of Bitcoiners really love him. He has a huge following on YouTube. He's like 500,000. Here's the thing. Do not think everybody fully support what he says. Like I listen to him, part of it is entertainment. Um, but I think he's identified the problem with the economy really well, right? Like if you want to understand what's wrong with the economy, I'll highly encourage you to actually listen to him. But I do think he's a little obsessive on this idea that Bitcoin has not intrinsic value. As I said, it can be anything can have intrinsic value if you can make it useful. Literally, a ledger that cannot be corrupted by the government is useful enough for a lot of people. I can just send you these magic beans, right? And we can trade. Property rights is the most correlated attribute to prosperity in human history. Literally, it's not even democracy. I love democracy. I don't want to just think I'm against democracy. There are a lot of democratic countries that are like poor as dirt. They don't have a okay. They might be democratic country, but everybody thinks socialism is okay. Okay, that's a democratic country, but they can still take your money. It's still a very low efficiency system. But if you look anywhere, like communist China, when the farmers can own a part of what they plant, the same plot of land, the same people, the same seeds, the same fertilizer, just yielded like 10 times better results. It's like ownership. That's really the truth of the universe. When you own something, you care about it. You have an interest to do something about it. You know. So that's Bitcoin. It just it's a network. It's an energy network. Um, and you can put your wealth into it. Um, you know, it's a battery. It's a battery of energy, and it's a lossless battery of energy because the number of Bitcoin never changes, um, as opposed to fiat, which the government keeps printing. And you know, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about national debt even more. Yeah, hopefully this video gives you a basic idea of what Bitcoin is. I'm a Bitcoiner. I'm pretty passionate about it. I am sure we'll have much more video covering topics related to Bitcoin. So hopefully you find this video useful.